First of all, congratulations on your music for Beef.
Thank you.
I want to just ask a general question first, because I know you tip your toes, dip your toes in a bunch of things. But what about scoring for movies or television excites you? What makes you want to do it and put the time in?
I think the short answer is that I have my whole life loved film score and TV score. I've been watching shows and movies and thinking, oh my God, I love the music in this, right?
Mm.
And also, I think as a musician, like Billy and I, especially together, have always talked about our music in a cinematic with cinematic aspirations. You know what I mean? We'll work on a chorus of a song and we'll be saying to each other like, imagine a scene in the forest and there, you know what I mean, and whatever it is. So it's like I think that the visual component of the music I make has always been there,
Mm.
and then it's just this huge honor to collaborate with filmmakers who I'm a fan of and get to be a part of a project that, it's funny doing the score because you get to be so involved. I felt like I was sort of involved in the post production of this show for like a year because I would go in and play them the music every week and we'd talk about what was working and what wasn't. And it's such a learning experience for me. And again, it's like the I've only done four projects. I've done two shows and two movies, and like all four of those filmmakers are important to me. Megan, Billy, and I worked with very early on. She did Billy's videos. BJ Novak, I got to know through a mutual friend, but like The Office is like the show of my life, to be honest, like the funniest show. Um, and then Alfonso, similarly, like those films are so important to me. And Sonny, I loved the first season of Beef and have loved getting to know him and think he's going to have, an incredible career in the next 10, 15 years. And so, again, like these are all just like real honors to be like, oh, I'm suddenly working with these filmmakers.
So how did Beef season two and working with Sunny come about?
We probably, I think, through our teams got sort of set up on a general
Mm.
around the beginning of 2024. Billy and I were going to all of these screenings and dinners and stuff promoting the Barbie song that we had done. And he was on the same timeline with Beef season one. So we were seeing a lot of each other and then got sort of like, you guys should go get coffee. And we just had a great time. We just had a great time sitting and chatting, mostly about like um, rap music and Radiohead and
Mm.
a little bit about like theater and stuff. So that's often to me the best part about like getting to meet another person who's creating stuff for a living is like they're a fan of stuff. And so you can pretty quickly get to like whatever you're a mutual fan of.
So in that context, because I was talking to Jake the other day, and he was saying about how it's a process for Sonny to come up with the what the show's going to be, but that he even brought up that before they ever started shooting, you had songs that you were giving them that they were listening to on set.
Yeah,
So
they had, yeah,
so
that's
how
true.
early did you start writing stuff? Like, did he send you scripts and you were like, "Let me see what I think
Yes.
of"? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, I was sort of approached after we'd met about like, well, would you like to do the music on the season? And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I, had Sunny over to the studio and we talked about, the characters and the sort of overall plot of the season. And then he said, I'll send you like the first, whatever draft I'm on of the first episode or two. And he sent me that. And then I made some stuff. And I think that was helpful for both of us because it makes I think auditioning for me makes me feel like I've earned the job, you
mm,
know? And it's a opportunity to have a conversation about what you're liking, what you're not liking. So I very quickly made it probably took me a few weeks to make this piece of music called Water Bill that was like I went to a golf course near my house and like recorded the sprinkler system and recorded like lawnmowers and tennis balls and golf balls and stuff. And it was like wove that all through the sort of rhythm of the piece and then played these synths over it. And again, that was like a great starting point. And then as they got closer to shooting, I just sort of like they would send me episode 5 and episode 6, like the scripts, and I would send more and more music. Then I started going to visit set once they started shooting. So by the time they were in the edit, they had a huge amount of music. And then, of course, I still made a ton of music to picture. I would watch the scene and think, nothing I've made so far is perfect for this 2 minutes of this, sequence. But they did have a lot of music to sort of guide them by.
So obviously, Vicious Thoughts is the one track that gets a reprise, or actually, that's not two. There's another track as a part two that you revisit, but that's the big emotional
That's
visit that
right. Yeah.
revisit at the end. Was that one an early track? Was that something that came after production? How did that come about?
That was an early one, and that's an example of exactly what you're talking about. I was making all these pieces, and I think you can get in your head as a person turning in, assignments to a boss of like they're gonna love it, they're gonna hate it, they're gonna love it, they're gonna hate it. And I made this piece called Vicious Thoughts and sent it to Sunny, and I didn't have like a specific scene in mind. I just thought like it I'd read the scripts and I was like, this makes me feel like these characters. And it's funny because you're like, I don't know if you're putting yourself in the shoes of somebody else. You're like, I don't know if somebody else is gonna get this, but I love it. Like I gotta send it to him. I love it. And I think the best part about working with somebody like Sunny is you can kind of always trust a really creative person to think outside the box. And like I think that synth in Vicious Thoughts is so abrasive that I was like, I don't know if he's going to go for this, and he was like, I love it, I think this is great. So then I get the draft of episode 8, and in the episode script says like Vicious Thoughts plays while Oscar and or while Josh and Lindsay you know embrace. And like to me again, it's like as a person writing music for the show, you're like, oh, that is so cool, because then you feel useful. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the thing I want to feel in my life creatively is useful.
So in that context, just to clarify,
Yeah.
was it picked to be at the end in episode 8 first before it ever appeared in earlier in the season? And
I
then you
think
found
that I think that specific record, like the thing that you hear in episode 8 is maybe, nudged a little. Like I maybe went back in and made it a little slower and a little faster or something, but
Mhm.
like it's pretty much exactly the piece of music I sent him. And so then once we knew that we had this kind of like, conclusion, we worked backwards. And then you go like, okay, so if that sort of melodic phrase should feel like, a kind of a acceptance loving thing, then maybe the first episode you only hear it when you're with the young couple. You only hear it when
Mhm.
you're with Austin and Ashley, because you kind of think like, well, that couple is really in love, And then as the season twists and turns, you get to like episode 6, episode 5, episode 6, where they're kind of deciding that maybe that like the acceptance pivots and they're like, we should get a divorce. And so you hear like a very tender version of it. And similarly with Austin and Ashley, like you start to hear a kind of a like sort of like anxiety creep into their music. So we kind of had like Austin and Ashley start here, Josh and Lindsay start here, and their kind of sonic identities go like that. So they like start from, they sort of do a handoff as the season progresses, because I think as a viewer, that's like part of the joy of this season is like seeing this like incredibly optimistic, naive couple learn and become sort of hardened by the sort of classist world that they find themselves in. And then you see the couple that's already sort of gotten to that place sort of accept, the things they cannot change or impact, and own up to the things they have done wrong. And I think that's really cool.
So going back though to the beginning, he
Yeah.
loves Vicious. You know that he wants to put that or potentially earlier in the show as well as to sort of tease it or as a bookend or as actually Jake talked about how the he that because I haven't talked to Sonny yet. I'm actually talking to him
Yeah.
tomorrow. How he wanted to like have the show have bookends at the beginning at the end and
Sure.
did did him liking that influence the choices you made in the rest of the music? Was that like sort of the starting point, or was there another piece that you'd done earlier that really was the one main influence for the rest of the show?
Um, I think that became like the thing that I knew was working really well. And then the other stuff that became important to me was the ARPy rhythmic stuff, you know. I think that and then like the sound effect stuff. Those were kind of the bags I kept sort of dipping my hand back into to solve problems, you know. Um, and also as you kind of learn that the most powerful characters in the show are Chairwoman Park and her, you know,
Mhm.
sort of associates, her bodyguards. And so I thought she needed a very um, epic theme. And so that just gets crazier and crazier toward the end. And then by like episode 8, when she's like walking down the hallway talking about like, you know, the lizard, like the lizard people, it's like, it's awesome. That's like the other fun part about doing a show or a movie is like, okay, here's a little cute version of this. Okay, here's like the craziest, you know, most dissonant extreme version of this piece of music, which is really satisfying.
In the context of all the songs, obviously they're all your babies, but like, is there one that you were like, oh, I really love this piece. I wish people were paying more attention to this as opposed to maybe something else?
Um, I think that like there's a couple pieces of music that, you know, I think of to answer your question, like I think of how I felt making stuff more than
Mhm.
like sort of judging it. Yeah, I think about how it felt to make. So like in episode 4, which is the hospital
Mhm.
episode, the sequence that I made uh while she's, you know, being put under anesthesia, and then the sequence I made where she's sneaking around their house and um finding the his payment forms and stuff. Like
Mhm.
I had a great time making those long sort of, you know, thick sequences. I really loved working on that music. So that's like a fond memory I have. I also had a really fun time doing the music for the like um surgery center scene in episode 8, that like super kind of, you
Mhm.
know, percussive piece that plays while they're running through the surgery center. I had a great time doing.
And I just gotta ask, you are super busy with everything that you do and touring and your music outside of the score stuff. Is there time in your schedule to keep doing more scores? Or can you look at 12, 14 months ahead and say like, I've got 6 weeks here to do something if I want to?
Yeah, I mean it. I wish it was 6 weeks. It's like months and months, you know.
Mm.
But I think like anything, the better you get at it, the less mistakes you're making constantly. You know what I mean? So what, you know, in terms of making Billy's records, what took me 3 months to make a good production on a song from like her first EP, now it's like I sort of like have a better understanding just technically of like what I'm doing and how, you know what I mean? You solve when you don't know what you're doing, you're like, why did the drum sound bad? And you're like solving it forever. So I think like from a film scoring standpoint, like even just on a workflow level, like I'm getting a better idea of how to do it. But I sure want to keep doing it because I every time I do it, I learn so much. I did so much work with like old modular synths on this and this synth called a memory moog, and that's like literally a synth I've had for several years, like getting dusty on my, you know, keyboard stand because I wasn't good at it, right? I'd try to use it, but I'd be like, I'm just making stuff sound horrible. And so then I have to like, because of the sort of like, oh, I want this to be a really synthy score, I have to like try. And so then I get way into it and I spend days working on it. Also, like if Billy's in the room with me or any other songwriter, it's like I'm not being a good collaborator if she's like, what should the second verse be about? And I'm like, hold on. And I'm dialing the LFO for 2 hours. It's like, if I'm just working on film score, I have a lot of time to tinker. So they both make me better at the other thing. And I hope I get to keep doing it.
So there's nothing imminent. There's nothing else you've been working on the side or anything that's about to happen that you know of.
There's nothing that's like, oh, this is about to come out. I'm starting to work on another project right now that'll come out, you know, far from today. And just like beef, it's like, you know, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I'm excited about it.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm actually excited that you're doing more score. That's what I was
Thanks.
supposed
Me
to say.
too. Yeah,
That's good.
I'm doing more score. Yeah.
You're doing more score. And I just gotta ask, when you watch the show in context, now that it's all finished,
Yeah.
what is your favorite moment with your score in it?
Um,
Maybe you don't have one. It's okay
I
if you don't.
think like to for because of recency bias and because it's amusing to me, there's a piece of music on the soundtrack album called Banchan, and there's that piece of music is from the scene when they all get to Korea and they're sitting at the
Mhm.
like big giant table and Austin's trying to get a diuretic. He's trying to like have rice and black coffee and there I don't know, those are funny performances and I really had fun making that piece of music. That whole actually there's like that sequence is wall to wall. So like that sequence goes straight into Josh in Troy's house, goes straight into Josh running out the door and calling his sister, goes straight into Lindsay in her hotel room in Korea. And I think that like tying scenes together with score became like one of my favorite parts of working on the show.
Well, congratulations, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you,
It's
bro.
a great overall series, and
Thank
hope
you.
wishing you guys all the best.